So Maurice, 39 years ago, you were winning the Grand National on rubstick, and this is where it all began for you because you would have got changed somewhere around here before you went out for the big race. Where was the jockey's room position back then?
That was the southern one, and that was the northern jockeys.
So you had a north-south split?
Yeah.
So you would have gone in this part?
In that part, yeah.
The southern jockeys, the Frankums and the likes, would have gone down that side?
Yeah.
And then you would have filed out through here?
Through that door, yeah.
Okay. So you would have gone over there,
yeah.
Met your connections, met the horse, and of course the saddling boxes used to be over there as well, didn't they?
That's it, yeah.
So that's where Rubstick
yeah.
would have got ready.
That's right.
And you would have gone over and had your pre-match chat with Mr. Ledbetter.
Something like that. Yeah.
Did he give you any instructions on the day, how to ride the horse, or
just go down the middle? He said.
Go down the middle, but you obviously knew the horse very well coming into the race.
Yeah.
You've ridden him season after season,
yeah.
So both of you were very kind of as one.
That's right. Hopefully. Worked once.
And going into the race, I know that reading about it, that John had fancied the horse for quite a while, and he'd been back down from like 66 to 1 to 25 to 1 over the season. Were you coming here on the morning of the race thinking, yeah, we can do something today?
Well, we're hopeful for the first three, definitely.
Yeah.
But second year we expected to win it again, but we didn't. So.
Yeah. So it's one of those you never quite know what's going to happen, so you can't think too much about it. But
no.
And you only had your wife Anne tells me you only had a boiled egg and a glass of water on the day of the race. So yeah, you were certainly hungry for a win anyway.
That's right. Yeah. Try hard.
Having done your parade and got legged up on Rubstick, you would have come out here. How did he cope with all that? Was he very relaxed?
He was very relaxed. He didn't bother a lot about it.
Didn't mind the crowds,
no.
the noise?
No, he was a very laid-back horse.
Yeah.
You know.
And presumably around here, close to race time, that's when the butterflies start to get going a little bit. Or were you always quite calm?
Always calm.
Yeah. Total faith in the horse.
I get more nervous sitting in the jockey room than I did when I was on the horse. Once I got on the horse, that was it. It was easier then.
So we're looking back to the beginning of the race now, and you can see what a long run it is from the start to the first fence where we're standing now. I mean, you can barely see it in the distance there. And that's what catches a lot of horses out on the first fence of the National, isn't it?
Yeah, because you get to racing very fast before you get here.
Yeah, and there doesn't seem, the fence is only half built at the moment, we should say that, but there doesn't seem to be any tricks to it particularly, it's just speed.
Just speed that puts them down.
And how did Rubstick take this first fence? Did he take it well?
He took it very well.
Nice and steady?
Yeah, he took it nicely, jumped it well.
Gave you a bit of air?
Yeah.
And that must be a relief. You get over the first, you think, well, at least I'm not going to be talked about in the papers the next day.
I think he hit about the fourth, I think, and that did him good because he just said, hey, pick your feet up.
Yeah, yeah. Give him a little reminder.
Yeah.
Now Maurice, here we are, fence 3. This is the first big one, the first big test for the horses. We've got a massive ditch here, we're both inside it, and we can't see over the top, so it's quite a large one.
Yeah. This is the first big test.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get this one out of the road, you're all right then.
And you're always, is it on your mind as a jockey, you know you've got over the first, you think the second we've done that and that's fairly straightforward, but this, you know that this is coming up.
This is coming up and you want a good jump here.
Yeah.
And after that you get into a routine and
how did Rubstick take this? Was he?
He jumped this well.
Yeah.
He jumped the first 3 well, and then he hit the fourth a little bit.
Okay.
And that just gave him a bit of a shock, so picked his feet up.
What's the key to it? To try and get as close to this board as possible. Is that what you're aiming for as a jockey?
No, you want to be about 3 foot off it.
3 foot.
Yeah, 4 foot back.
Okay.
A good jump.
And this, I mean, I'm no expert. I've never ridden over these fences, but this doesn't seem as dissimilar to what you'd experience at the chair.
No, it's much the same as a chair. When I was riding, this was out of sight nearly enough. The ground line was on the ground.
Right.
You know, it didn't have a board on it, so.
I suppose the only difference is that the chair, the ground is raised on the landing side, but this is the same this side as it is that side.
That side, yeah.
But get over this and you're in business. So Maurice, we're coming up to the 4th now, and this is where you said Rubstick made his first mistake, and you said he learned from it, but what did he do wrong? Where did it not go quite right at the 4th?
He just came down to it and he got just into the bottom on it.
Right.
And just hit it a little bit going up and...
so basically he's got in too close to this guardrail here, and
he
couldn't get up and over as well as you would have liked.
But it did him a bit of good, it shook him a little bit.
Yeah.
He took a bit more notice then.
So when you came to the next one, he gave it a nice bit of air then?
Mm.
So you think, I mean, obviously you don't want to make mistakes going around a course like this, but if you just nudge 1 or 2, it can teach them at the same time.
It just teaches me, yeah.
Yeah.
lets them know that don't mess with them.
No. And you took a middle berth, as you said, a middle route down the course. There does seem to be a bit of difference, doesn't it, between coming down the middle or coming down either side?
Well, we decided the middle was going to be better.
Yeah.
You know, just where the traffic was in. If there's plenty of room on the inner, go in, and if it was getting crowded, go back out a bit and let him see where he was going.
And at this stage, obviously, you said you were up with the pace, so you've got a nice position at this stage. Just somewhere that you want to hold that position, and you know, you've got a nice bit of daylight now.
That's right.
And there's the jockey you've got over number 4. Becher's is looming on the horizon. That must be occupying your thoughts now, because we're getting down to that run where we go Becher's, Foinavon, and the Canal turn. So that must be kind of, you're starting to think about that a little bit.
No, next fence. You don't worry
Next
about
fence, no more than the next fence.
No.
Okay. Now, Morris, back in your day, coming up to Becher's Brook, it must have felt like jumping off the end of the world. But as we know now, and we'll find out in a minute, the landing side has been filled in quite dramatically. So as you approach from this side, it looks a normal fence like the ones we've seen before, but obviously you know that it's not. How do you approach this fence?
Just hope to meet it right and get a good jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do anything different, really.
Obviously, it's slightly different for the horses back then because they had to contend with the drop. So you have to make sure you sit back in the saddle.
Sit back and keep all the heads. Just keep the head up a little bit. And
so they don't nod when they hit the ground. And how did Rubstick take this?
He took it well. Both times around he jumped it really well.
Not a problem?
No.
So Morris, here we are on the landing side of Becher's Brook, as is now. This is the first time you've seen it probably for 39 years. How has it changed?
I don't know. I've never seen it before.
So you only saw it on horseback?
Yeah.
But obviously quite a lot different now to how it was then. And you said before, where we can see the brook underneath us, or hear the brook, the grass would slope all the way back down
to the brook, yeah.
And it's been packed up quite...
It's been put up a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Must have put 2 foot, 3 foot in it.
Do you think it's changed the character of the fence, or do you still think it's a good test for the
horse?
horse?
It's still a good test.
So we got over Becher's, one of the most daunting obstacles of the course, and we come to Foinavon, which looks one of the most easiest, but of course we know from history that it's not. And do you think it's because of the contrast between having just got over Becher's and then the horses are slightly worried,
a bit nervous
about what's coming next?
That's right. You know, when it was a bigger drop at Becher's, it maybe caught them out a little bit and they landed on their heads and they were, oh, what's the next one? I'm not used to these.
Because you do see quite a few horses making mistakes here, and it is quite a, it is a normal looking fence, isn't it?
That's right. It's just small and it just takes their eye off it and worry about it.
And the course does narrow a little bit here as well. It does funnel kind of, it goes slightly downhill, and of course we're heading towards the Canal turn next as well, so there's a bit of jostling for position at this stage as well. Where were you on Rubstick? You were still somewhere around the middle?
About here, I would think.
About here?
Roughly.
So you're kind of pretty much still central.
Yeah.
And you've got a good line into the Canal turn now because you're up with the pace, so you can choose your spot. Well, let's go down and see the Canal. All right, we're at the Canal turn now, Morris, which I always think is one of the hardest places in the course because obviously we've got this 90-degree bend. You've got horses coming from right, going to left to funnel in, trying to cut the corner and save a few lengths. You can often get a bottleneck. It's a tricky fence, and you've got Valentine's coming up as well. Tricky section of the course.
Yeah. The first time around I tried to jump it on an angle and he didn't like it.
No.
He just jumped himself straight. So next time around I just let him jump straight.
And then correct him.
And then correct him on landing.
Yeah. So you were still middle-ish at this stage?
Yeah, quarter way out.
So you didn't go with a conventional method of cutting the corner, you just thought let him do it? Or you did on the first circuit?
I tried to do it on the first circuit, but he didn't want to.
Yeah.
You know, he's never jumped that way before. He always jumped straight, so.
Yeah.
I thought, oh well.
And then of course, as soon as you've jumped this, you've got a sharp left-hander. So you've got to bring them round pretty quickly. And we've got another quite, not a daunting fence, but it's a well-known fence, Valentine's. It's still a test. So you've got to straighten them up pretty quickly to get them in line for that one.
That's right, yeah.
And you must also be thinking by the time you've jumped this, you're on to the second half of the circuit now. You must be getting an idea of whether the horse is enjoying it or not, whether he's,
You're hoping they're going to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
To get a breather into them because you've been running like mad since then, you know.
So we've got the second of our brooks here. This is Valentine's. Probably not as famous compared to Becher's, but it's still a fair test coming after the Canal turn. We can hear the running water down below, and there's still a little bit of a drop off on this landing side. It's a tricky fence, or do you think not too bad?
It is a tricky fence, yes. You get quite a few fallers here. So
It's the kind of fence that if you meet it right, you can really gain a few lengths if you meet it on a good stride. If you meet it on a bad one, you do see quite a few horses making mistakes here and coming to grief. So obviously not as renowned as Becher's, but still quite
a
tough
tricky
test.
fence. Yeah.
And do you think that's because it's the position on the course coming after the Canal turn and you're sweeping left so
No,
fast? Or?
Everybody's trying to get a position now on the last circuit to go for home.
And on the first circuit, on the first circuit, you've pretty much, after you've jumped this, you've pretty much passed all your tests. We've got one more big ditch coming up before the home turn on the first circuit, which is quite tough. But again, you know, Rubstick sails over this. Where were you? Still middle to outside?
Middle to,
and still got your position in the front of the race?
Fairly well,
Just where you want to be?
Just where I wanted to be.
And you taking any notice of the others at this stage? Your Zongaleros, your Rough and Tumbles, or where they are, or not paying much attention?
I was talking to John on Alverton about here somewhere.
So he was close by you?
Yeah, he was alongside. And he was asking how it was going. I said, oh, I'm flat out. I said, I hope to slow down a bit.
Were you bluffing? Or?
No, I was flat out.
You were?
Yeah.
It doesn't look much at the moment, but this is actually the chair. They haven't done the dressing yet, but soon they will do. And you were saying there's a difference now between the boards here and where they were in your day. They used to sit somewhere else.
Yeah, they used to sit down on the grass line here. The grass was a bit long, you could hardly see it. You could easily put a foot over into the ditch.
Right.
And miss the push off.
And this, just for anyone who's not aware, this is a sight board.
Yeah.
So for when the horses are funneling into the chair, they can actually see where they've got to land and where they hopefully get over.
Yeah, where they're going to pick up from.
And in '79, if my memory serves me, there was a lot of loose horses. There was quite a bit of negotiating to have to be done when you came along here with Rubstick, and but you managed to get over okay.
Yeah, he jumped it well. Better than the second year he had to go. He slipped coming into it. And he lost his foot and put a foot.
I was going to say, you went off favourite in 1980, the year after you won it, and you had a bit of a parting coming to the chair. But
that's right.
What happened? You said he just slipped into it.
He just slipped into it and hit this halfway up.
Gave you no chance.
No chance.
And I remember those pictures of you kind of being speared into the turf head first.
Head first, yeah. Planted me.
But you survived.
Yep, we're here again.
And he negotiated again in '81. We should say that he took part in Aldeniti's Grand National, probably one of the most famous races ever. Got round in 7th or 8th.
Yeah, 6th or 7th, yeah.
So twice he jumped this perfectly. It was just once. There's heavy ground that year in 1918. He just slipped coming into it.
Just slipped off the top there. That was it.
And is there any trick to jumping this, or just have confidence in your horse?
Just confidence in the horse and go for it.
It's quite a narrow stretch as well, isn't it? There's a lot of horses to fit in between quite a small space. Which just adds to the congestion, adds to the...
They're all inside anyways, don't you? You don't want to go around.
No.
You know.
Fence 16 on the Grand National course, you only take it once. It's the water jump. And you've got over this and you survived one circuit and you can start thinking about the second one. Must be a nice place to be once you've got over here.
Yeah, start riding the race then, you think?
Yeah.
You know.
The field's probably thinned out quite a bit since then, hasn't it? A few holes in.
Down a bit.
Yeah. Everyone's taking their time and they're starting to jockey for position on the second circuit.
Get out on it a bit.
Yeah. And I know you're not a big fan of water jumps in general, but Rubstick, no dramas here, you took it fine?
He took it fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Took it well. Yeah.
And then
in them days, you see, the water was, if it was 3 foot deep at that end, it was 3 foot deep at this end.
Yeah. So now it's much shallower.
Yeah, so you can jump into that and still get away with it, can't you?
Now, if you can get over this beast on the second circuit, Morris, you haven't got far to go to the winning line. You must be starting to think, I've got a chance of winning the Grand National. If you've got to this stage on the second circuit, and you're up with the leaders as you were, you must be starting to dream.
Well, you're hoping things are going to go quite well then. It's back on the collar, it's slightly back uphill again, so...
And how was Rubstick travelling at this stage? You said he came off the bridle a little bit on the second circuit.
At Valentine's he came off the bridle and he was struggling for the pace.
And did you think of that time your time's up? Or?
Time was coming up, I thought, but once we got over this and back across the Melon Road, he came back on the bridle a little bit and he was travelling better. So.
Yeah, and although we're close to the end here, it's actually a hell of a long way back to the standstill, isn't it?
A long way.
We haven't even got anywhere near the elbow, so there's still a lot of running to do. So
once you cross the Melon Road, it's still a long way home.
Yeah. Well, it may not look like it, but we're at the final fence on the Grand National now. And immortality awaits for somebody at the run-in just behind us. We can see how far it is still to go from the last to the line. Morris, you've made it this far. You've got over 29 fences. You've just got one to go. In your year, you had Rubstick on the wide outside, or on the right. You had Zongalero, trained by Nicky Henderson in the middle, and you had John Frankham on Rough and Tumble on the left. 3 of you going to the last together. with a good tussle up the run-in.
That's right.
And it came out in your favour that time.
Yes, it came right. No. I knew he had a good chance coming to the last. Just had to jump it clean, and that one would get there. Hopefully.
And you said that Rubstick was a really strong stayer, so you must have been confident that as soon as this was over, he'd love the elbow, the long, long distance to the line.
Right, yeah.
He would fight past the other two, and he did. When did you actually hit the front? Approaching the elbow, something
just
like that?
before the elbow, yeah.
And once you're in front, you think, well, don't do anything silly. He's got this one.
That's right, yeah. Just a long run in, isn't it? And it looks further from me.
It does look an awful long way, I've got to say, but
Yeah.
Not if you're on the back of a strong stayer like you were. You probably relished this last section. And trainer's wife watching in the stands. Morris has got to the elbow. He's one of three left in with a chance. We've got Rough and Tumble, we've got Zongalero, we've got Rubstick on the outside. He just starts taking it up with about a furlong to run. How are you feeling up in the stands?
Quite optimistic.
Oh, well, I would hope so at that stage.
Yes, the girl that was with me was quite excited because she'd already said she thought he'd fallen at Becher's, but obviously it was another one. So when it was on the commentary, we were trying to listen. It was so loud, the noise behind you can hardly hear the commentary, to be honest.
But you can recognise the horse, you can see the silks,
yes,
you can see the colours, you know that it's Morris there.
In front.
What's the feeling like?
Well, he just wanted the winning post to come quick. Yeah, and hope that he could stay in front.
And when he got there at the line, what was the feeling? Pride?
Yeah, well, it's a strange feeling because it's finished, and then you think, wow.
Well, this is what it's all about, Morris. It's quite simple when you break it down. You've got to reach this line in front and get this lollipop, get to the line first, and that's what you managed in 79.
Yes, very nice. I'd like to train one now to do it.
Well, it would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
but,
be great.
Going back to then, it must have been, what were your emotions as you crossed the line? Was it just one of relief, tiredness, or exhaustion, or?
Just relief to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all my dad said. Do one better than me.
Yeah.
That was my orders.
And you see you get more showman winning the race now. When AP McCoy won it, he was going nuts at the crowd and waving his whip in the air. It was none of that for you. It was just the
quiet thing.
Yes, I've done it.
Everybody did that in them days, didn't they?
Yeah.
Even Cheltenham, they didn't celebrate in those days, did they really?
No. So it's just a quiet glow of satisfaction that, yes, I've just won the Grand National.
That's right.
And it probably takes a little while to sink in, does it?
It does, yeah.
When did it first when did you first think, God, I've actually done this? It must have been slightly surreal because you're whisked from here to the unsaddling enclosure. You're speaking to David Coleman live on BBC TV. It must all be a bit of a blur.
Yeah, it was a slight blur, yes. The following day, it started to sink in then what we'd done. When you saw the replays and whatnot, you think, oh.
It must be nice watching replay knowing you don't fall and you know the result.
That's right. Very nice.